everybody, and thanks for watching my first Common Pitfalls video. I'm excited to finally be posting a new video because about a month ago I started working at a car dealership 50 plus hours a week, so I haven't had as much time to make videos as I used to. So, if you live in the Portland area and you need a car, come visit me at Rustum Nissan of Portland, otherwise just enjoy the video. So when you're trying to learn to pronounce Italian like an actual Italian, there are obviously hundreds of tiny things that you'll need to learn before you can do it credibly. My goal in the Common Pitfalls series is to take these problems on one by one so you can deal with them in manageable chunks. This series doesn't need to be watched in a particular order, but all these videos will assume basic familiarity with the pronunciation of Italian, as well as familiarity with the International Phonetic Alphabet. If you're not at that point yet, my earlier videos can help you get a handle on it so you can get up to speed. The particular topic I'm going to take on in this video is the issue of what are called schwas. The word Schwa is derived from a Hebrew word meaning no vowel, and it refers to any of several neutral vowel sounds, with being the most common example in English. You might be wondering what's so important about schwas with regards to Italian diction. The simple answer is, Italian doesn't have any. On the other hand, a schwa is the single most common English vowel sound. This brings me to common pitfall number 1, using schwas in Italian words. If there's one thing that English speakers can do to pronounce Italian better, it's making sure that no schwas make it into your singing. In this video, I'll be giving some examples of schwas used correctly in English as well as being placed incorrectly in Italian words, so you can start to hear the difference between the schwas English speakers love and the 7 and only 7 pure vowels of the Italian language. I'm going to start this video by reviewing the 7 vowel sounds of the Italian language. Then, I'll give examples of schwas in English. I'll wrap up with examples of how English speakers tend to insert schwas into Italian words where they don't belong, and what you can do to avoid this pitfall. I hope this is helpful for you. Now, if you've watched my Italian videos, you've seen this Italian vowel diagram before. If not, I encourage you to familiarize yourself with it. Italian has 7 and only 7 vowel sounds. I, e, a, o, and u. This is a simple concept that can be really challenging to put into practice. And what it means is just if you're singing in Italian and you hear a vowel sound that isn't on this diagram come out of your mouth, you're doing it wrong. I sing in 6 languages, so I know it's not easy and I'm not trying to be hard on you, but it's really that simple. If you're singing in Italian and you produce a vowel that isn't I, e, a, o, or u, then you're not pronouncing the words right. So memorize these 7 Italian vowels, and when you're learning your texts, really be aware of what vowels you're pronouncing and check yourself constantly against this diagram. Since a schwa is the most common vowel in English, your vowels will devolve into schwas if you're not careful. So now I'd like to transition to talking about schwas. Dictionary.com defines a schwa as the neutral vowel sound typically occurring in unstressed syllables in English, however spelled. In layman's terms, a schwa is a sort of vowel. Definitely a vowel, but not a or e or any pure vowel. Is the most typical example of a schwa in English. Let's turn our attention briefly to the last part of the Dictionary.com definition, however spelled. This comes back to the important distinction between letters and sounds. Any vowel letter can be a schwa in English. The examples Dictionary.com gives are the A's in alone and sofa, the E in system, the I in easily, the O in gallop, and the U in circus. I'm going to add that this sound is also found in stressed syllables of words like but. The stressed schwa actually has a different IPA symbol from the unstressed schwa. I'm showing both on the screen here, and in fact those 2 schwas are actually pronounced slightly differently. Nonetheless, they're both really common in English, and neither exists in Italian, so you can think of those symbols as basically the same. In addition to the stressed and unstressed schwas that are basically the same, English also has a very special third case called a rhoticized schwa, or an R-colored vowel. I say this is very special because English is one of only about 9% of the world's languages to have a sound like this. Need I say that Italian is not part of that 9%? So, eroticized schwa is the sound in fur. Notice how the R sound pretty much starts right after the consonant ends. So you can hear the schwa, you can hear the vowel, but the R is happening at the same time. The combination of the schwa and the R, the in fur, is represented using this IPA symbol. So now let me give you some examples of how these schwas get worked into Italian words. Like I touched on a minute ago, most unaccented vowels are at risk for being turned into schwas. I'm going to give a few examples so you can get a feel for the general pattern of this mistake, because it is systematic and can basically be boiled down to a tendency to shoehorn Italian words into English pronunciation conventions. Two of the first Italian pieces I teach my students are Che farò senza Euridice by Gluck and Voi che sapete by Mozart, so I'm going to draw from the texts of these two songs for my examples. The full texts of the arias with correct IPA transcriptions are available in PDF format if you click the links in the description of this video. The second line of Voi che sapete is Che cosa è amor? This line includes two words that a lot of you may be pronouncing with schwas, cosa and amor. English speakers will tend to say cosa instead of cosa and amor instead of amor. The a vowel is probably the most common victim of the schwa, especially since the letter a often stands for schwa in English. So you have to be really careful that even an unaccented a stays an a. Another typical example is the name Euridice. In Italian, the first syllable is pronounced as two clear, distinct vowels, eu. But I often hear folks pronounce this word Euridice, with an R-colored schwa followed by a regular schwa. This is problematic for three reasons, actually. First of all, u and e get turned into schwas which don't exist in Italian. You can hear there's a big difference between u and and between e and Those are important differences even to an English speaker. Second, the Italian flipped R gets replaced with an English R, which also doesn't exist in Italian. Lastly, the closed E gets turned into a glide, y, instead of a. This word is particularly challenging, but if you break it into the component sounds and just practice slowly and carefully, you can replace the schwas and the R and the glide with the correct sounds. Euridice. There are a number of other examples in Che farò as well. Some words that spring to mind are rispondi, avanza, soccorso, and speranza. They tend to get pronounced rispondi, avanza, soccorso, and speranza. When you look at these words, keep in mind the 7 Italian vowels. That will help you get the correct pronunciations, which are rispondi instead of rispondi, avanza instead of avanza, soccorso instead of soccorso, and speranza instead of speranza. Some people find it easier to pronounce the vowels correctly if they think of Italian as having more forward and lifted placement. If you're placing your vowels high and forward, you're going to have an easier time pronouncing pure vowels, and it will also make it more difficult to accidentally pronounce schwas, which actually by definition are placed in the middle of your mouth instead of forward. So thanks for watching my first Common Pitfalls video. I hope it's been helpful. I'd like to conclude by reiterating that to improve your pronunciation, and this goes for any aspect of your pronunciation, not just schwas, you'll need to practice slowly, syllable by syllable, and stay really focused on the issue you're trying to improve. In this case, pronouncing pure vowels instead of schwas. I should also say I don't recommend learning your texts with music right off the bat. That's what most of my students are inclined to do, and it will really set you up to fail. Instead, go over your texts just speaking until you're really comfortable with them, then practice speaking them in the rhythm of the song, and only add the music after you're really solid on that. So the takeaway here is that Italian has 7 and only 7 vowel sounds, and all vowels are going to be pronounced one of those 7 ways. Standard Italian does not have any schwas, so as an English speaker you're going to have to be really careful to always pronounce those 7 vowels consistently and clearly. Thanks again for watching, and I encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you found this video helpful. Talk to you next time.